All right then, so we're underway. So g'day everyone and welcome to the Global GEG Open Chat with Innovators. So I'm Leslie Altman, I'm an innovator from Australia Down Under, and I'm co-hosting with Maria Etheridge, who is an innovator, and she's from Australia as well. And we're really excited to be here with you for the first of these three sessions, and we're going to introduce you to some really amazing people here. But before we begin, I'd like to give an acknowledgement of country. It's a way that Australians show respect for culture, heritage, and also that ongoing relationship that the First Nation people have with country. So I acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land. I acknowledge their elders, past, present, and emerging, who were and continue to be the storytellers of this ancient land and its people. So a little bit about, people say, so what the heck is Global GEG? I mean, it just sounds really ominous. So I thought I'd just spend just a few moments to explain. So if we go to the next slide, if you would, please. Yeah, I've just taken a snip out of our website and I've got it listed there, globalgeg.org. So we're a team of volunteer educators, and it actually began in 2019 when 6 innovators, fresh out of the four academies that we came from 2019, we got together and formed a tight little PLN, and we trained each other, we helped each other, we supported each other, we found out how to become GEG leaders, and we came back to the PLN and we shared ideas. And then when we launched our GEGs, each one of us were guest speakers at the launch, and other people saw that and wanted us to be guest speakers at their launch as well. So we couldn't do a 24-hour sessions, so we started to ask people to come on and come and help us, and they did. And we realized that by combining all of those trainings, we were able to give people a really comprehensive input on any kind of training that we did. So the first big event that we ended up doing was a boot camp, and it was to support teachers who wanted to gain their level 1 and level 2 Google for Education certificate. And it was fun, it was big, it was rowdy, there was a leaderboard, it was all gamified. And then Google Program Manager for the GEG world and the Google Marketing Group wanted to talk to us. So we had a meeting. We thought we were in big trouble for some reason. But what it turned out was they were really inspired by this group of volunteers, and also Google Marketing said, actually, how did you get 20,000 views on your first 2 events on your brand new YouTube? Well, of course, COVID made the education environment so different, and teachers were hungry to learn how to really utilize that online space. So this is how this session started. I did this in 2019, and it was little, it was informal, and then I brought it into the global GEG community and we got together. I mean, really, we are a global group of GEG leaders from everywhere, of course. So, of course, this has gained some traction, and it's more sustainable now that we're working together. So that's who we are. Who we aren't Google. We aren't some sort of a management team that oversees GEG leaders in the world. We don't manage GEG groups. We don't manage GEG regions. We're like a professional learning community of global group GEG leaders and members, and this group, this PLN group, is a bit like a group on steroids. It's just really energetic and exciting, and it's been an amazing journey over the 12 months. We've only just had our first birthday. So if we...
And Leslie, can I just point out that you guys can do things as the GEG that I can't do as Google, because you don't have to clear anything through marketing and legal. You can just do it. And I love that.
I know, but we still have to have a structure. I mean, to have this event, I had to submit it to the founders. I'm one of them, but I had to submit this event. I had to explain what it was about, what the goal was, who the audience was, and did I need StreamYard? Did I need Google Meet? I had to have it then placed in the Global Wrangler calendar. Did I need graphics? Did I need support with social media? And all those teams just have a look at that spreadsheet and then pick up the little jobs to do. So
still not marketing and legal.
Like it's like that. So it is really exciting. It's amazing. So, well, here we are, and that's who we are and who we aren't. And today or this evening for us here in Australia, we Maria and I are we met at Sydney 19, and I think we've got a few Sydney 19s in here as innovators. And I've known Chris Betcher for a long time. In fact, he was cheekily showing some photos. I think when we first met, we looked like a pair of teenagers back in the day, 2009, I think you said. So welcome, Chris. He is going to be giving the input for today, for this evening. But also, I think we've got some other Googlers. There's Mary here. So Mary is Education Lead Google for Education in the Philippines. So welcome, Mary. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And if you are an innovator, please put your name and your cohort in the chat.
Put your hand up.
Put your hand up. We're a little group. There's Juliet and Sandra. Well, welcome, Chris. And Chris is again be able to give us some input on what the VIA 21 Google Innovator program will be all about.
All right. I guess that's over to me. All right. I should have prepared some slides. So I wasn't sure what you already had, Leslie, so I didn't prepare anything. But let me just give you guys a quick overview by way of a short history of the Innovator Academy. So the Innovator Academy, as you know it right now, actually started life, 2007 or 8, I think it was. 6. Are you holding up 6 fingers? 2006. Okay. There you go.
What Jim, I think, was in the first one.
Yeah, I thought that was 2008, but it probably started before then. But it was actually the brainchild of a few people that attended a conference in California and came out of it thinking, oh, we should run like a special thing just for Google. And so they put together like this Google event, and it sort of grew and grew and grew, and then became this thing called the Google Teacher Academy. And it ran as the Google Teacher Academy for a few years, and it was quite different back then. I went through the Google Teacher Academy in Sydney. It was might have been the first international one, but it was the first one in Australia anyway. And it was great fun, and I was so excited to be part of it. And I remember applying, and just being so excited when I got accepted into it. The premise of the Google Teacher Academy is a little bit different to what it is now with the Innovator Academy, in that it was much more focused on just like people who were excited about the Google tools and what they could do in classrooms. And so you'd go in there, and we talked a lot about, how to use things in creative ways. How can you use Calendar in interesting ways? What can you do with Sheets in interesting ways? But it was still very tool focused. And I think while that was fine and fun, I think it lacked the depth that it has today. So over a period of iterations, we tried different things with the Academy, or they did try different things with the Academy, and they took it in a different direction that was much more design thinking focused. And so it went from being just a fun event about learning about Google tools to being a fun event learning about how to do design thinking. And I think we actually swung the pendulum a little bit too far the other way at that point, because it was so much about design thinking, we barely mentioned Google at all. And I think Google went, hey, we're paying for this. We'd like to be part of it somehow. So then we sort of found that center part where it was about design thinking. It was about coming up with interesting challenges, but it was also about how Google technologies can help support those challenges. You might recall that Google has a thing called Project X, or the X Lab, where they come up with all the crazy ideas. So Project Loon, the self-driving cars, the contact lenses that can detect glaucoma and all sorts of diseases in your eyes. Google Glass. So this X Lab within Google comes up with crazy ideas. And the idea of X Labs is that, the guy who runs X Labs said, probably the best quote I can sum it up with, he said, if you've got a car that does, I don't know, 30 miles per gallon, right? And you want to improve that slightly to be like 35 miles per gallon, you can do that. You can tweak a few things here and there. You can just change the bits and pieces on the car and make it improve slightly. But if I told you that car has to do 300 miles per gallon, now you've got to rethink everything. Now you can't just go and tweak what you already know. You've actually got to throw it all out and start again and think really, really big about a problem. And that kind of thinking, the X-Lab thinking, is what we tried to bring into the Innovator Academy. We tried to identify who are the innovative thinkers in education, who are the teachers that genuinely want to go out there and make real change in the way education works, and how do we get them thinking the way Google thinks about these big problems, that 10x moonshot thinking, so that the ideas that they're working on aren't just a marginal improvement on what they're currently doing, but they're a revolutionary improvement on what exists. That's the concept behind the Innovator Academy. So in order to make that happen, what we try and do is we run these programs where we invite teachers to apply, and we try and find the best of the best of the best teachers to be accepted into these academies. And then we work with them over a period of a couple of days to try and help them understand how that design thinking methodology, that moonshot thinking works. We ask them to come along with a problem of some sort that they think is worth solving, and we try and put them in an environment that helps them solve that problem or address that need. It's a pretty effective program. We've had a lot of really amazing stories come out of the Google Teacher Academy at first and the Google Innovator Academy as it grew into that. There's been some amazing stories of impact that teachers have come up with. Teachers that are inventing apps and building websites and changing societies and reinventing the way their schools work. All sorts of amazing stories. And so that's what the Academy is about. And so, you guys are here today because you're interested in being part of that process. It has generally been, when COVID's not around, the Innovator Academy is usually a 3-day face-to-face program where people come together in a place and they spend some time working together over 3 days, and then they go off and work on their projects. We pair them up with a mentor. So you'll actually be matched with someone who you feel would be a good fit for helping you, and they work with you for about 8 or 9 months to help you develop the project that you're working on. So that's kind of the overview in a nutshell of what the program's about. We're looking for people who want to make big changes in the world and make the world a better place. As cliche as that sounds, that's really what it's all about. Sorry, I will mention this too. So, like I said, it used to be a face-to-face academy, 3 days, and of course COVID hit. And last year we had 4 academies planned all around the world. I think we had Spain, Australia, the US, and there was one other. I can't think where the other one was, but there was 4 of them. And of course, when COVID hit, they all got shelved and they got transferred to a virtual academy, VIA, Virtual Innovator Academy. And so we ran VIA 20 last year for the very first time. It was a bit of an experiment. We'd never done it that way before. It had always been face-to-face. But I think it was a really good experience. And I know Juliet's there. She was part of last year's, and I'm not sure if anyone else here was part of last year's. But, what we were worried when we moved it to an online format, would it be the same? Well, clearly it won't be the same. You don't get to go to a Google office. You don't get to eat the food. You don't get to meet face-to-face. There's a lot of things that are different when you run it virtually. But there's also a lot of things that were better when you run it virtually as well. You extend it over time. Instead of being over 3 days, it extends over a period of weeks, so you get a much more drip-fed experience. You also get to meet and mingle with people that are outside your region and outside your normal sphere of influence, and that opens up enormous opportunities as well. So there are really you know, there are advantages and disadvantages in having it virtual rather than face-to-face, but I think there's a lot of really positive things about it being virtual as well. Long story short, we're doing it virtual again this year because we still have to. And we actually weren't, just so you guys know, we actually weren't going to run an academy this year at all. And we decided here in Australia that we felt that the Asia Pacific region wanted one and needed one and deserved one. And so Swan Yo and myself put some machinations in place to try and make it happen. So we found some funding and are doing VIA 21 just for the Asia Pacific region only. This is not open to anyone else, anywhere else in the world at the moment. It's just for Asia Pacific. So go you guys.
Yay for APAC budget.
Exactly. I'll hand back to either Maria or Leslie.
Okay. This is just an informal discussion, guys. So if you've got any questions, please either raise your hand or just put your question in the chat. Just be mindful that the deadline for the application is on the 17th of September at 12 p.m. AEST.
Maria, can I piggyback on that? The deadline is 17th of September. You must have your applications in if you're applying by the 17th of September. We haven't talked about the application process. I didn't know if you wanted me to talk about that or you want to talk about that?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
It's an open, just as introduction, and people would have a lot of questions on the program, deadlines, and what the application is all about.
Okay. So in order to, let me try and simplify it as much as I can. In order to apply, you need a couple of things. You need to come along with a problem. You need to come along with something you want to solve, something you want to work on. You need to come along with your 10x thinking moonshot project. What we don't want you to do is come along with a solution to that project. We need you to come along with the question, but not the answer. The Academy is all about figuring out a direction for an answer, not even the answer, a direction for an answer. And if you come along knowing exactly what you want to do, you may as well not be there. You may as well just go and do it yourself, right? The idea is you come to the Academy with a concept in mind of something that you think is worth working on, but don't come with the answer. That would be kind of pointless, okay? When you apply, as Calendar Wrangler just said there in the chat, like don't even hint at a solution in your application. As that application asks you to sort of describe a project or a program or a project you want to work on, don't even hint at the fact that you think you know what you want to do with it, because probably won't be a successful application if you do, but two, you actually don't know the solution just yet. You might think you do, but you don't. Trust me. So don't include that. You also need to produce a short video that outlines the project and introduces yourself. And perhaps Leslie or Maria, you might help me out here because I can't. It's a 3-minute video, I think, isn't it?
I think it is a 3-minute video, and really it has to be delivered in 3 minutes, because if you deliver something in 5 or 10, no one's going to watch it past 3 minutes.
Yeah,
it's really focused that way. So
there's a whole bunch of things in the application process itself. You need to have your level 1 and level 2 certification. Actually, technically, I think you only need to have a year. Is it both, right?
No, technically you only need 2.
Technically, you only need 2, but most people do 1 then 2. Can I give you a little hint without giving away too much of a secret? Deadline is September the 17th. Without me explaining the reasons why, try and get your level 1 or 2 certificates done before September 1. Right? I can't expand on that. Just if you haven't got them already and you need to do them before September 1. And just trust me on that, okay? So you need to get level 1 or 2, but you need at least 2. You need to have your application video made. You need to have the application all written out. You need to have a clear idea in your head. Not a clear, you need to have an idea. It doesn't even have to be a clear idea.
And also the way it's presented, like the application, you can save each page and go away and think about it. I think in the old days, a number of years ago, that application was more of a form and you had to complete it in one go. But now you have that ability to either save and go on to the next page or save and exit. So that page is intact. You can come back and edit. And there's a whole, there's a whole focus on really fine-tuning your wording. I'm a very wordy person, and I had to apply a lot of Condo Marie in my application because I had like 800 words and it said 130 words, and I thought, what? But it was very cleansing to be able to give a more succinct answer to that section.
Yeah, less is more.
Yeah.
And I want you to think to yourself when you're applying and as you're putting stuff together, just remind yourself that there are, I don't know exactly how many places are going to be open this year. I think it's about 60 or so places are open, but don't quote me on that. But there are a finite number of places available for people in this program this year because we're running it virtually. Out of whatever number that is, let's call it 60, right? We might have 500 people apply, right? So think to yourself, how are you going to make yourself stand out? What is the story you're going to tell that out of a large field of applicants who all want to be there, why would we pick you to be part of the program? Because what we ultimately want to do is pick the best people so that they apply and do amazing things. And we know that, there are lots of amazing people that apply, and we wish we could take everybody, but unfortunately, the economics is that we can only take a finite number. So as you're putting your application together, just bear that in mind, that this is not like, I'll put my application in and see what happens. Like if you really want to do this, make sure you stand out.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's that whole, passion to develop that project, but there are also some technicalities like don't go over your 3 minutes. Keep to the word limit. In fact, I think there's a cutoff point. You just can't. I did a lot of hashtagging, not hashtagging, hyphenation, because it actually counted it as one word. And also, I told you I was wordy, but also little things like when you do your video, check it in incognito window, check it with a couple of people outside your domain to see that they can actually see the video. Because there's no one is going to say, hey, this application looks great, but we couldn't see your video. Could you resubmit? That doesn't happen. And the same with any documentation that you need to add to your project, your application. Make sure that every one of those documents is anyone with a link can see. Anyone on the internet can see it.
I'm just thinking we're going to have all these applications now that start with I-wish-2-apply-2-the-academy-.
Well, you can cut. Look, if I was 5 words over, I go back and
hyphenate things.
One or two things, like I want to look professional.
Yeah. Brainstorming. I never knew that was a hyphenated word.
I think there was a great question there in the application video. Just mention problem without mentioning solution. That's it. You've got
exactly
it in the
right.
video.
Dr. Sharif, I shall call you because I'm not sure how to pronounce the other part of your name. I'm sorry. I'll call you Dr. Sharif.
Good clarifying.
Yes. Just talk about your. I don't even particularly like the word problem. I think the thing you want to change. I don't know what I'd call that. I guess it's a problem, but.
Yeah, I like challenge.
The challenge, yeah.
New
Challenge.
goal. That's what we, doing.
Think about the challenge you want to address, but don't think about how you might address it because, quite honestly, you don't know yet.
No, you're just restricting yourself if you do have a couple of solutions in your head. You really, really need to go in open.
Because it's quite likely you go there with an idea. This is going to be your challenge. This is your focus. And when you get there and have this amazing conversations and amazing input, and then you start to broaden and think, I need to pivot.
Yeah.
My middle name now is Pivot. So you need to pivot. You need to change your approach. And that's what you need to be able to do.
Yeah, exactly. And that will absolutely happen. You will come along with something in mind and you'll change your mind as you go through, but that's okay. It's not a problem.
Sanchita, your question can be, your problem can be close to you. It doesn't have to be a global problem.
But
you will, as you know, if you get selected for the academy, then you'll go through a process then of helping you refine that challenge, that problem, and you'll come up with what's called a "how might we" statement, and it'll go something like, "How might we?" I don't know, whatever your thing is. Anyone here who's been through the academy want to tell us what their "how might we" statement was?
I think you even had to do a "how might we" on your application, and then that changed throughout your academy experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to remember mine.
And mine was, how might we, it was all about visible thinking in, for student learning.
And mine was about empowering educators to engage in EdTech in a regional low socio area.
Right. And that was obviously very personal to you, Maria, because you live in a regional area of Victoria, and the use of technology in the schools where you live is fairly low, fairly minimal. And your problem was, how do you bring use of educational technology into schools in a region that typically doesn't use it? Because that's a big shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
still working on that.
Yep.
Little by little.
That was yours. Anyone else remember what theirs was?
Mine began with writers' clubs, trying to get writers' clubs across Australian schools. But it was a bit general. And then it was very similar to other things that people were doing. And through a conversation during Innovator, during the academy, I ended up totally canning that idea and going into a partnership with another innovator. And we're about to launch our YouTube channel. So it's totally different. And I think the thing that's important is being willing to let go, willing to let go of the idea and improve upon it.
And what was it you ended up on now?
Well, we've created a YouTube channel it's going to be student driven, looking at sustainable development goals, but getting kids to show us what they're doing in their countries and in their schools. And it's got question time at the end of each short video. And the idea is that different schools will take on, and different parts of the world will take on hosting it. And there'll be one of the videos, and then there'll be 2 other videos looking at a different SDG all the way along. And so it becomes about the students showing us what they can do and empowering them.
Yeah.
Juliet, you really bring out a big part of the academy is that connection that you create that you would never come across, that extension of your PLN, the connection with like-minded people is awesome.
And the other thing that I found fantastic was it gave me an opportunity, because I do work with the Asia Europe Foundation. So I've been doing a lot of work with them and projects with them, which actually stimulated me in this idea. And then to take that, and we've now co-founding a group of women educators around the world, looking at just supporting each other as female educators. So that's an adjunct, but that will then give me an audience that can spread the Innovator project, hopefully, and see what students can do in Malaysia and the Philippines. I've already got Korea and India taking part.
Awesome.
I remember a quote. I remember someone said to me one time, "You'll be the same person now as you are in 5 years' time, except for 2 things: the books you read and the people you meet." And there's a lot of truth to that. And like the more people you meet, the more minds that you connect with over time, the more your perception of the world changes, and the more belief you have in that what you can do can help change that world. But you need to expand your universe of possibilities to do that.
I think the other thing I liked about Innovator was that we had a mentor who nurtured us in teams, and as a team we could support each other, but we were able to work with somebody who was invested in us in a small group, and as well as being part of a larger group. And that's before you get to meet your mentor. So I think it's been a fantastic experience, and I'd recommend it to everybody.
Yes, Chris, do you want to talk a bit about what will happen during will they be assigned a coach still, and then they'll have a mentor once they've completed the academy side of it?
Sure. So the academy is actually run for us by a group called Canopy Education, based out of the UK. Andy, who runs Canopy, has been involved with the Innovator Academy for many years through several of its iterations, and is very good at running it. Has a great team of people behind him that runs it. You will literally be working with some of the best coaches in the world. And some of the best educators, some of the smartest people you're ever likely to meet. And they will invest time into you to help you grow into a project that matters to you. And I think that's something that you do not get in many other places in the world, that this idea that, people are investing into you to help you grow. And it's free. It doesn't cost anything. People pay a lot of money for that sort of stuff. So you'll be assigned into a team. We looked at different ways of breaking up those teams last year, and I think it worked really well. We had the structure of it is basically over I think it's 8 weeks. Correct me if I'm wrong here. It's 8 weeks. Yeah, 8 weeks. And
Maria's just getting the slide now.
There'll be like a group session every week where everyone gets together, and you'll have kind of a you'll look at the key concepts and ideas for that week, and then you'll have another session that week as well where you work in small groups, and you'll be put into normally regional groups. Now, a couple of things to point out about that. The academy will be run in English. We don't have the facilities at this stage to be able to run it in multiple languages. So all the main sessions will be in English. So it's important that English is a language that people can function in sufficiently enough for those major sessions. If we get language-based groups, so if there was, for example, I'll use Malaysia as an example. If we had a group that had a group of Malaysian people in it, then it could be that those the individual training sessions, the small group training sessions, if all those people spoke a common language, then you could obviously run those sessions in that common language. But the main language of the academy is English, so just be aware of that. The other thing that's really important to, I'll finish this thought first. Yeah, so the program sessions run by the design coaches, then the coaching sessions run by the coaches that you'll be assigned with, and you'll work with those. So there'll be one of those sessions every week. You'll also find that they run occasional sessions called Sparks, which get together, and there'll be, how would you describe a spark? I'll read the slide. To build capacity, influence development of projects, and spark new ideas and thoughts, right? So Spark sessions, I don't quite know how to describe them, but they are brainstorm idea starter type sessions. And then scattered throughout there'll also be some social sessions, because you'll make friends, you'll meet other people, and it doesn't all have to be about work. So there will be some sessions scattered in there where, if you want to, you can just join in and socialize, ask questions, meet other people from different parts of the world. There is an expectation of a certain time commitment, and it is. And you can see down there, you can expect to spend 3 hours per week in sessions, 2 hours on Tuesdays at 3:30 and 1 hour with your coach. So that weekly program session is held every week at 3:30 p.m. That's Australian Eastern Standard Time. So you need to convert that into whatever time is for where you are in the world. But it will be at 3:30, and it will go for a couple of hours on a Tuesday. And I've had people go, I can't make it on a Tuesday. Well, then don't apply. I can't put it any blunter than that, I'm sorry. But that's just when it is. And it's really important people are there. And it's really important you can be there at that time and at that place. I've had a couple of people approach me and say, look, I really want to do this, but I can't be there on a Tuesday. And as much as I'd like to say there's a solution for that, there isn't. You simply need to be there. I also understand that 3:30 p.m. on a Tuesday is probably going to be, if you're in New Zealand, that's going to be after school. If you're in Singapore, that's going to be in the middle of the afternoon. If you're in India, it's probably going to be mid-morning. I understand that there's no convenient time for everybody. That's just the nature of time zones. And I've had some people say, well, I'm not sure if I can get the time off to attend if it's in the middle of the day. But look, the simple answer is, if this was a face-to-face academy and it was being run in Singapore or Sydney or wherever else it might have been run, you would be asking for time off work, you would be getting on a plane and flying somewhere, you'd be giving up a chunk of time to go into a face-to-face academy, and this is really no different. There is a time commitment involved. Like I said, it's a very competitive process to be part of this, and so that's just the expectation. I'll be honest with you. What's the next slide?
That's
I like this.
great, Chris.
Every slide's a surprise.
The next one. Okay. So we're running 3 sessions. They're information sessions. And when I said to Chris, could you kind of give some sort of credibility, outline of what the academy will be like in 2021? He said, yep, count me in. So this has been great, because people need a lot, for me, I need to be informed before I can ask the right questions. So you need to be able to gather as much information as you can. There is also the formal Innovator Academy webinar that will be next Tuesday, and Marie's going to pop that in the chat there. So the first one of our sessions is this overview. What's it all about? What the heck are we going to be doing? And then we're running just this Global GEG is running 2 other sessions, one in August and one in September, just before the application date. So we can get together and actually listen more to your more informed questions. And if there are a lot of questions, I'll do what we did for the open chat with trainers, is we ended up breaking into multiple meets. So people broke away and just asked specific questions about videos, or specific questions about another part of the application. So we're just going to tailor that for the next registration. We'll ask you your questions, and then we'll try and develop that for you. So we've got August the 13th will be our next one, and it will be more of a whether we do it in this open chat like this and address topics, or we might create 3 more meets and send you off into a breakout meet and have a specific conversation. And there's the September one just before the application, where we can try and give some more helpful ideas to complete your application and get it in.
Yep, there'll be lots of good advice there. Just with you, as you guys are starting to sort of think about, some of you said you've already started your applications. Just touching on a point that someone raised earlier, like I've been on the selection panels for both trainer and innovator. And one of the things that frustrates me so much is when we get an application in for either of those programs, and I know it's a really good application, but someone applies and I go to open one of their documents and it says, this document needs to be shared with you, right? It's so frustrating, because that's kind of an instant fail, right? Mm. If you're applying for a Google thing and you didn't share a document with us properly, like that's kind of a deal breaker. So don't be that person. Make sure that you do it. And my advice to you is create a folder, put all your stuff inside the folder and share the folder so that anyone with a link can view it, right? And then before you submit anything, open up an incognito window and look at your own application in an incognito window and make sure that everything is viewable. Because if there are many reasons to not be accepted into the academy, but not having shared documents is not one of them. Don't be that person, okay? Mm. And there'll be more talk about the video. Everyone asks lots of questions about the video because it's kind of, everyone gets real worried about the video. No one expects you in the video to be, I don't know, Cecil B. DeMille or whoever.
You're not going for a job at Netflix.
You're not trying to win an Academy Award. You're trying to show a little bit about your personality and convey a little bit about an idea that you have for change. And that's really what we're looking for. An authentic video is much better than a polished video. Right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's nice if it's watchable. It's nice if the quality is good enough that you kind of look at it and go, wow, this person's impressive. Like, look at the video they made, right? So it needs to be okay, but it's like you're not trying to win an Academy Award, so don't stress too much about that.
Definitely, and it's people that are applying for this academy have probably had a lot more experience in creating videos over the past year than probably previous Academy applications. I mean, most of us, it was probably the first video that we'd ever really created a couple of years back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the comments, and there's a couple of things that raised there. Sanchita, you've mentioned imposter syndrome. Can I tell you, it is real. We all feel it. And the very first thing when you get into an academy, whether it's face-to-face or virtual, the first thing everyone is talking about on that first session is, oh my God, I feel like such an imposter being here. Like everyone else around me is awesome. And there's me. Like, how did I get in here? And we all feel that way. So like, just put it out of your mind. Don't worry about the fact that that feeling exists, because it exists for everybody. So just push that aside. Don't worry about it. And the second thing there people were talking about is making sure you are in the video. Please don't do like a pow tune or something like that. They're cool and everything else, but they're not right for an innovative video. Show yourself, show your personality, show your face, be you.
Yeah, there's many times in the academy that you're going to get out of your comfort zone. So you might as well start from the very start and just keep going.
Absolutely. And it's like, it's mind-blowing when you're in a room of people that you've probably been stalking on Twitter and Facebook, and they get up and they talk about their imposter syndrome, and you think, what? Everybody does have it. Chris is right. It's and it, you know, like, it's not that you have it and you move on. Every new experience, every exciting challenge, you think, oh, hang on, can I do this? I need to be able to get myself organised. So I think anybody here, I'm going to raise my hand. Definitely, you know, I have felt it. I am feeling it, and I'll probably feel it sometime tomorrow.
Yeah. So I feel like, you know, this group we're talking to right now is probably asking some questions in the chat, but you you guys are quiet. Like, ask some questions. You've got a few minutes now, so this is the time to ask questions. Feel free to unmute your microphone and ask questions. We're all friends here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just for the application of the video, is it we still need to do about 90 seconds, or is it okay if you pass a little bit, a few seconds?
So the video, I believe, is check what it says in the application, but from memory, I think it's 3 minutes. And I hope I'm not getting it confused with the trainer video. Can one of you guys confirm? Is it 2 minutes or 3 minutes?
I'll have another look, but I think they had increased the innovator video, because we were all saying, what? They've got more time. But, you know, if you finished a few seconds before the cut-off time, but that's okay. If you got your message across and you feel really comfortable with that, that's fine. But don't go 2 minutes over. But if you finish a few seconds before, that's fine.
Yeah. So Sharif, just like check what it says in the application. I can't remember exactly what the time is, because I get it mixed up with trainer video and they're different times. But whatever it says in the application, stick to that. Don't go over it. Feel free to go under it, but don't go over it. If it's whatever the time is, let's say it's 2 minutes, whatever the time is, when people are assessing the video, they'll watch it up to the whatever 2 minute mark, and then they'll just stop watching.
And then we stop it. Yeah.
Yeah. Then another question is, you mentioned just now that you only mentioned about the problems only. You don't need to make we don't need to mention about the solution. How do you explain that?
Well, because if you come to us with the solution, that means you've already got an idea in your head about what you think it is. So our design thinking process, our program of getting you to think about a problem and explore different solutions and be a divergent and a convergent thinker, that's all wasted on you because you've already got the answer.
So like in my application, I might have talked about becoming, you know, how can we use technology to become, you know, to encourage visible thinking in student learning or something. And if I went on and said, maybe I could do this, this, or this, I've just started a solution.
I see.
That's alluding to that solution.
It's
So
the idea behind
that.
it.
It's so simple. It's so difficult to explain.
And can I just say, like, we say don't come along with a solution, and I don't mean that just by saying don't tell us you have a solution. just pretend you haven't got a solution. Don't talk about it, but really you do. I literally mean don't come with a solution. Like, come with an open mind. because it's very, very likely that the answer to the problem is not what you think it is. And by coming there, if you come with a sort of a preconceived idea about what you think the solution should be, what you do is you miss the opportunity to find a better solution.
Okay.
So what does Chris Hart say? Carry your ideas lightly.
Carry your ideas lightly.
Juliet? Yeah.
Yeah, carry your ideas lightly. I mean, it means by all means have ideas, but be prepared to let them go.
Okay.
And some of us, we come along with ideas about the way things should be, and we get so attached to those ideas that even when it becomes, or it should become obvious that we need to go in a different direction, we don't go in that direction because we're kind of married to the idea and we want to hang on to it because it's our baby idea. And you really got to hold the ideas lightly. And that's a great skill to have. And look, what we try and do with the Academy is expose you guys to the kinds of thinking that, I mean, this process that we're talking about here, this gets used in companies and organizations around the world. At Google, we use this kind of thinking all the time. When Google invents a new product, we kind of come along and go, well, so there's a problem that we can identify.
Yeah.
But if we don't have open minds as we go through the thinking process, then we kind of cut ourselves off from better solutions because we think we have a good solution. So we don't get to the great solution.
It's kind of stunting your growth, but your learning growth, your creative growth, you're open to ideas if you already have a preconceived one.
I was reading an article the other day about, a couple of weeks back, I was reading an article about how we deliberately teach skills to help students develop, that student agency, that choice. So we can't say to them, like, what kind of software do you want to use? And they run off and do things, and they're not really evaluating the software that they want to use, and they can't explain, what part of that software is going to help solve their challenge. And one big skill, I thought this was really clever, because one big skill that students and we need to understand is if something doesn't work, don't keep hammering that one option. Move on to something else. Be free to be able to say, that didn't work. And that's okay. That's part of my learning journey. But I've got two other pieces of software that I might be able to, show evidence of my learning. And I thought that was really well, outlined.
Well, let me reverse it a little bit and say, let's imagine you gave a project to your students, and one of your students came along and said, sir, listen, don't worry about it, sir. I already know what I'm going to do. And you kind of go, hang on a second. Well, you haven't stopped and thought about the problem yet. Yeah, I already know what I'm going to do. Like, you'd say to that student, well, you need to have a more open mind, right? And I guess that's exactly what we're saying to you guys.
Another question is, due to what reason the application can be rejected? Any example?
Well, okay, so let's start with you didn't follow the instructions.
Okay.
Documents aren't shared, or you didn't answer the sort of questions that were being asked, or that's the sort of the obvious reasons.
Yeah, right.
Then I guess the next layer would be like people just don't think big enough.
Okay.
People come along with a problem that's actually not a very interesting problem.
I see.
Like, I don't know what an example of that would be, but like, we occasionally get people that come along and that their problem is just not very inspiring or not very original, or it's just like, yeah, that's been done a million times, or just they're suggesting something to which there's already an answer. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, what's that movie about Google, the Internship? Has anyone ever seen that movie, The Internship? One of the characters in that goes, I've got this great idea for an app. We'll get people to take photos, and then they'll post their photos on the line, right? And this guy's going, you've just invented Instagram, right? No, this is different. This is different because you take the photo and you put it on the internet. No, that's just Instagram. So, and it's the same thing, don't come along with an idea that's either already been done or is so obvious or is not inspiring.
Thank you.
Think really big. We would rather you come with a a huge idea that seems unachievable and then help you achieve it, at least part of it, than if you come along with a really simple, basic, sort of safe idea and achieve it. It's always better to shoot for the stars and see what you get. There are some videos, and as you're assessing applications, you're watching lots of people's videos, right? And you watch a video and you kind of go, oh yeah, that's all right, that's pretty good. And then you get to the next one, you go, oh, that's pretty good. But occasionally we get a video that's like, oh my goodness, check this out, and you want to send it to all your friends and go, check this guy out. This is amazing. And sometimes the videos just stand out, and it's usually just because someone's just been really authentic. And sometimes funny, sometimes passionate, sometimes just really authentic, you know. But
just to add to that as well, like to what Sandra said, for us to make sure that you've got that passion and that it comes through to your video, you just need to make sure that you always keep in mind it's never about you. We never choose innovators based on how great you are, like as a person or as a teacher, as an educator. It's how great you can connect to your community. How big of a problem is it that you're making it your problem? You're making it yours. You're trying to solve something that is beyond maybe even your school or your community and can make a really great impact in the world. And you still have no idea how to solve it, but you do know that if it was solved, it could really make a difference. And that level of passion is what needs to come through in that video. You need to be very authentic around that. So just keep that in mind. It's going to be asked anyway in the application video. Did anybody just confirm that it's 90 seconds? It is 90 seconds. So
90 seconds now. Okay.
It's 90 seconds. You get 30 seconds to introduce yourself, and then 60 seconds.
So it is 90.
Right. Okay. That's good. So 30 seconds, introduce yourself, just let us know who you are, and then a minute to talk about your problem or your challenge or your whatever you want to call it.
There's also the aspect of who you are and demonstrating that passion, because the passion always comes through in the applications.
Yep.
And if you can demonstrate just not your resume, a lot of people think putting down all your accomplishments is gonna make your application shine. It's actually the people who show a lot of heart that I think really shine.
If you go to YouTube and just do a search for, well, if you do a search for Google Innovator Academy application videos, you'll find a bunch. The trouble with doing that is you don't know which of those videos you're seeing got accepted and which ones didn't. So if you know some people who got into the academy, and just look around this room, you'll see some. Try and find their videos or ask them to share them with you, and just see some of the videos that did get accepted. Or just do a search for application videos and watch them yourself and think to yourself, would I have picked that person?
And some of them mark them as accepted. Because I think other innovators have realized that it actually helps other. Yeah. And I think the other helpful thing is going on Twitter and just following some of the hashtags. So you can look up like VIA 20 and maybe look up some of the innovators from there. And even just seeing what their projects is during that time is very helpful, because some of them like are already doing their projects right now, and it's really exciting. For example, like one of the Naomi Toland, who I was coaching, she's been doing a lot about empathetic and educators, and she ran a whole summit this whole over the I think this month, and that was part of her Innovator Academy like vision and passion. And she's been running Twitter chats and video webcasts the whole time, and that launched from her Innovator Academy.
I don't have the latest figures, but I'm just looking here. In 2019, so pre-pandemic, the Innovator Academy, the Innovator community globally reached 665,000 people, right? So in other words, if you're an innovator and you go to school and you teach, 100 kids or whatever, and but you might also go to a conference and present something or whatever. The point is, the innovator community in 2019 reached 665,000 people from 50,000 schools and districts, did 1,200 presentations at conferences around the world. 100 innovators participated in the TED Education Masterclass. Mm-hmm. There were 80 innovators engaged in 400 culture shift workshops. There were 400 innovators training with the advocacy playbook that you'll get introduced to. And the statistics are amazing. Like, I'm just looking here. If you look at all the top influences in educational technology around the world, and I guess you'd measure that by, who is it that's speaking at conferences and presenting at things and whatever, like 33% of them are innovators. 91% of innovators work in districts that use Google Workspace. 79% of innovators work in districts that have like Chromebook adoption. So they are pretty impressive figures in terms of the influence that innovators have out there. Currently, this is an old figure now because it's 2019, but there's probably about 2,500 innovators around the world as part of the program. 53 countries, 54 cohorts. I guess that's probably more than that now, probably 58 or so now. And the thing's been running for 16 years. So it's a program we're incredibly proud of at Google. And I hope we continue to run it for a long time yet. We plan to. And I'm really glad that this year, even though we took a pause on it globally this year, and actually the plan was to not run any academies this year because COVID's just making it very difficult. I'm really glad that we managed to pull together something for VIA 21 and at least run a virtual event for Asia Pacific. I think it's pretty exciting that that's happening this year. I can't think who said it to me. Someone once told me, it was Monica Martinez, who, by the way, now works for Google, who was also an innovator and now works for Google. And myself, I now work for Google. Mary was an innovator, now works for Google. Like, I can see Sonia on the call. Sonia, I don't think you were an innovator, or were you? I'm not sure. But Sonia from India works for Google.
Hi.
Sonia.
Yes, hi, everyone. Yes, I'm sorry for joining in a little late. So no, I am not an innovator. I hope I reach there sometime in the following years. But yeah, I work for Google. I'm an adoption specialist for India. And I look after all kinds of teacher training programs and the GGs that we have, the wonderful GGs that we have in the country, and anything and everything to do with schools, their trainings, supporting them, towards certifications. So yeah, hi everyone.
You're most welcome, Sonia. Glad to see you there.
Thank you.
But I just want to make the point though that, like, I'm not trying to say that if you become an innovator one day you'll work for Google. Like, I'm not saying that, and it may or may not happen. Who knows? What I'm saying is that there's this concept called the adjacent possible. And I think it's a lovely concept. It's that from wherever you are right now, there's a number of places you could go next. So maybe you're a classroom teacher and you want to become like a school leader, or maybe you're a school leader and you want to become a principal, or what? Like, there's the adjacent possible. In other words, you probably won't go from being a classroom teacher to a principal because there's something in the middle that you need to get to first. But once you get to that thing, then you get other opportunities open up to you. And once you get to that next thing, then more opportunities open up to you. So wherever you are, there's always a set of possibilities that are adjacent to where you currently are that weren't open to you where you last were. And that's this thing about this adjacent possibility concept that, you come into a program like Innovator and it puts you in touch with different people and exposes you to different ideas, and all of a sudden you're in a different space. And when you're in that space, you have all these other possibilities start to open to you. And then you move into one of those spaces and you have all these other opportunities open to you. And the thing about that is you can look backwards from where you are and you go, I got to where I am right now because I was in that role. And then prior to that, I was in that role. And so you can look backwards and figure out how you got to somewhere. But you can't look forwards from where you currently are and know where you're going to end up. That's just not how it works. So like I don't know. Many of you are probably really super happy in a classroom. I loved teaching and I miss it still. But, you move into a situation where a door opens to you and another door opens to you and another door opens to you, and pretty soon you're doing something else that just you never thought you'd be doing. So, I don't know what you want to get out of this. Maybe you just want to be better at what you're doing and you're really happy staying doing what you're doing, and that's fantastic. But it might be that you're looking for other opportunities, and this is an amazing way to open those doors and find out what those opportunities are.
That's great, Chris. Thank you so much. It is such an exciting journey, and it doesn't stop.
And you will always feel like an imposter no matter where you end up.
Yeah. Absolutely. So if there's no more questions, I think we can pop that webinar link back in there again, because next Tuesday you'll be listening to Canopy team themselves. If you're on Facebook, if you are a Facebook, social media person, there's also this Facebook, the Innovator program is there, but also have a look on Twitter. It's a great place to learn, to connect, and look for the VIA hashtag, and also that hashtag, I think, yes, there they are. Mary put them in. I'm going to copy them straight out of Mary's chat there and pop those in. Just put that hashtag in and look at people that you think, oh, that's an amazing person. I want to follow them. I want to ask them questions. Do it. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted this open chat to happen, because I didn't really go outside my small area to ask questions. I thought, like Chris Betcher, he's busy. He wouldn't want to talk to me, even though I knew Chris Betcher and I knew other people. And I thought, I'm not going to waste their time asking these little questions. And I didn't realise how fabulous the community is. So that's why I started the open chat with Innovators pretty much straight after the Innovator Academy, because I thought I don't want anyone else to feel that an imposter and feel that they were taking up someone's time and space to ask questions to advance their thinking and to help them get that application together. So that's how it kind of came about in the middle of 2019.
I hope you all feel like imposters, because if you don't, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay then. Well, that's Chris, thank you so much, and Mary and Sonia for coming on. Sandra, that's wonderful to see you as well. We've got so many innovators here. Julia, thank you so much, and I'm sure that the people have come here to ask their questions and to listen. I really hope that you had value out of just this little introduction session, help you formulate those questions. We're going to run another 2 sessions that will be more, answer your questions in a registration. I'll change the registration form and I'll email that out to you. If you want to share it with someone else, please do so. So Maria and I will change that registration form so we can collect more of your questions, so we can build a better environment to have to kind of clarify things for you. I think that's
good luck, everyone.
Yes.
It's an exciting time, and even the process is worthwhile. You learn a lot even going through the application process, I think.
Okay then, well, thank you everyone so much.
Thanks, Leslie.
Thank
you, linesman. Thank you, ball boys.
Ball gatherers, yes.